Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Mentorship Program. The benefits of the Master Lease Agreement with the option to purchase. Mobile home parks are a tremendous asset to be owning. Warren Buffett, his Berkshire Hathaway company is the largest manufacturer of mobile homes in America. They own the largest finance company, the largest insurance company for mobile homes. I don't know if you know who Sam Zell is, but he's been known as the largest apartment owner and office owner in America. He may not be that quite still, because now he's diversified. He is the #1 owner of mobile home parks in America. These people are contrarian investors. I think if someone were smart, I would listen to Warren Buffett. He's made himself the second richest man in the world. He's a smart dude. I think you're smart too. You pay attention. So here's a deeper dive on master leases. A master lease is an agreement where you and an owner-seller agree to allow you to master lease the property for a period of time. It can be set for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And you set that in advance by mutual agreement. You don't want to have it out too far because you want to be able to get it and own it. And they have certain needs. What are the benefits to the seller? The seller can actually pull off getting his property sold. Because I don't think there are very many people out there who would take a pig in a poke and take their word for it when they can't produce anything. You ask for their tax return or their Schedule E or their 1065 and it doesn't show any income because they didn't put it in the bank. I don't think in all reality, I can't recommend that you take unknowns into factor. That's just too big a gap for me and probably for you. So they don't have an ability to sell the property. You'll buy it with no commissions. They save 6% commission. They know they're going to get paid, and along the way they get payments. Now, usually those don't apply to the purchase, okay? If you can structure that, great. I think there's so many other benefits you can get you don't need to get, but if you can ask for 10% of those payments back as towards your down payment, great. I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying I'm not even plugging that into the numbers. The seller benefits from also the fact that if they have a loan with a prepayment penalty, and maybe in 3 or 4 or 5 years, the prepayment goes to 0. They can know they're going to get the price for this property, but they also know that they don't get charged a prepayment penalty, which could be expensive. It could be up to 5 points. That's 5%. That's almost a full commission. They don't have to pay commission. They don't pay prepayment penalties. They're going to get the receipts from you, your rent payments are for the gross master lease, and they're going to use that to pay the property taxes, the insurance, and their loan payment. The seller gets the benefits of interest expense because they're making the interest, they're making the PITA payments. They get the deduction for the property taxes and the insurance. And on top of that, they get the depreciation. They get all that depreciation. That goes to them. What happens in this situation is the seller retains the legal title to the property. In the agreement, you get what's called equitable title, which gives you all the rights and title to manage the property, collect the rents, pay the expenses, and then you will pay a payment monthly to the seller. The seller will use that to make their mortgage payment, to pay their property taxes, to pay their insurance. Everything else is on you. Major things, you're going to work that out in the agreement. If there's a major repair that should go beyond the scope of your agreement, it's still their property. But minor repairs, you're fixing up this or planting a new plant or mowing the lawn and all that kind of good stuff, yes, you're responsible for it. And they get the benefit that they have no hassle. They get the time freedom they may want. Would they just like to get a check and not have to go to a JOB? Sometimes it's not convenient to do that. This opportunity for them is a win-win-win deal. They don't pay the prepayment penalty. They don't pay the commissions. They don't have to do the work. They just get the money. What a deal! And this is all in their benefit. It's all in writing. It's all there. And we can concoct an agreement. We can do it with the letter of intent, so we don't have to do fancy stuff. We will formalize it with a master lease option, with the option of purchase, but that's separate. So I hope that it gives you the benefits to the seller. So let's talk about the benefits to you. You get to have an ability to control an asset with no down payment, with no bankers, with no financing company. Is that fun? You can do that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You get the benefits of ownership without the cost of having a loan, without having to make the payments on the property tax and all the rest of the stuff. They have to do that. You get all the capital appreciation, and you're going to get a chance to earn while you learn. You can collect the rents, see what the expenses are. You're going to deposit every penny in a bank. You're going to keep track of it, so you know exactly what the monthly gross income is, what the net income is, what the NOI really is at the end of each year or each quarter. That will help you to be able to know if it's a property you want to buy in the long term. It is an option, not an obligation to buy. So you're not required to. Now, if you don't know how to manage properties, I think you need to learn more about it. Okay? I give you in my course how to hire a property manager. If you can afford to, under the cash flow, to hire a property manager, that's great. I would encourage you to shadow them. Watch what they do. Now, you may have a JOB, but you can work it out. So you can go ahead and do what you need to learn. It's real simple. You're going to collect the rents, and if they don't collect, you're going to give them a notice. Then you're going to evict them if you have to. You hire a lawyer to do it. It's probably going to cost you $300, $400, $500 to do it. And you're going to have a new tenant in there. One of the great things about mobile home parks is a lot of times they have units that the park owns. It could cost you anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000, $25,000 to move a unit from one place to the other 50 miles away. If it's already had the wheels removed and it's affixed, it's now real property and it's no longer covered by the Department of Motor Vehicles. Now it gets expensive to do it. So what happens is when people go home, metaphorically, they die, and the kids don't want to have a mobile home out in someplace, it sits there vacant. It becomes the property of the park owner. Many times they'll have 10 units out of 50 they own. Well, guess what? Some of those things are sitting there vacant. I have a mentee who specializes in mobile home parks. What she did, hires a handyman to come in and fix up these units. She buys them for $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000, depending if it's single wide or double wide. She goes in and puts in $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. She then turns around and she can sell it in place in the park for $25,000. Would it be nice to pick up an extra $15,000 a quarter? For some people, that replaces their JOB. That's a part-time job. I'm not saying you have to do all that. I'm saying you can. It's an option and an opportunity. The benefits to you are tremendous. How does this all work? You find someone who has a need. They're tired. They want to have time freedom. They want to have money freedom. They don't want to be doing this hands-on stuff. Whatever type of property it is, that could be true. That's what you need to find. And if you do a mobile home park, you want to look for hidden assets that aren't even being rented out because they're too tired. And you can fix them up. And then you could agree to, from the owner of the property, to buy units at a fixed price of, say, $3,000. It's a liability to him. He would have to pay $10,000 to $20,000 to move it. Instead, he gets $3,000 cold hard cash in his pocket. And then you fix it up, and then you increase the value, and you bring a new tenant in there who buys it and leases from you that empty space. And you make money coming and going. You make the profit on each one of the sales of the assets that you bought from the seller, and you get the rents coming in, which increases your cash flow, which goes to who? You. Is that cool? Absolutely. That is what this is all about. Let's talk about how we construct this. What we should do is come up with a deal that we think makes sense. By finding a property, looking at tour the property, look at what's going on, make your observations, ask questions, and do all that so you can make it a business determination whether this is the property or not the property. Okay? If it's the property, then what you want to do is you want to structure all the outlines of your terms. How much you would be prepared to, based having received their determination of what the rents are, which you'll verify it. Now you can write your master lease up to say, subject to the verification of the first quarter's income. And then if it's not as advertised, your lease payments to him get reduced. But there's no upside for him. That's fun. So if you prepare a letter of intent that says, I'm prepared to pay this, subject to verification of the first quarter's income. And if there is any adjustment downward, it will be done, and they'll be reimbursed. And going forward, that's what it'll be reset at. And that's in writing. I want to do a master lease where I'm going to take everything off your plate. No responsibility, no work, no repairs. I got it. No tenants to deal, calls to deal with, everything. I got it all. Spell it out in detail, giving them the benefits, and articulate what you're going to get. You're going to get a master lease. And I'll tell you about in the master lease description how we write that up. And you'll have an option to purchase. It's a fixed price option. And how long that is a matter of how long you think you want it. 2, 3, 4, 5 years. When you have this formal agreement signed by both of you, the owner, seller, and you, the buyer, optionee, tenant, what you need to do is you need to have it recorded. Now, some people won't tell you to do that, and some people will tell you not to do it. I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, but I'm going to tell you the street smarts. I don't want someone selling out the property underneath you. I don't want them to be able to do anything. I'm going to record the master lease with the option to purchase. It's going to be a matter of public stinking record. And they can't do anything about it because you're going to record it. It's the facts. It's the truth. You have it and you've got it recorded, which means there is now on that property, if they were trying to sell it out from under you, very quickly the title company would recognize they can't. You have the sole and exclusive option to buy. It's fixed. You have an option price, and you have a lease that cannot be terminated unless you agree to terminate it. They want to write you a big check and write you a check for $100,000, $200,000, and they want to sell it. Well, you get the money. But the bottom line is that this will make it possible for you to be in control. I'm all about control. I want you to be in control. So some lawyers or some people will say you can't record it. That's some ridiculous. You can record it, and you should, and you must record it to protect yourself. You get all of the money in, keep it in a bank account so you have proof of what it is, and you make your payments out of that same account to the seller owner. They get their money on a regular basis. There's to be a covenant in there that they shall, not would, should, would, or coulda, but they shall pay the mortgage payment on time, the property taxes on time, and the insurance policy on time. You don't want any of those to lapse. You don't want to be foreclosed on. You don't want to have the property taxes come due and they'll try and put you a tax sale, and you don't want to have be uninsured. So they must do that, but the word must doesn't work. Shall. They shall make the timely payments on the money you give them to the lender, to the county recorder's office, or whoever's collecting the tax collector, and the insurance company. That is how you're going to do it from an operational standpoint. The majority of mobile home parks in America are owned free and clear. There is no banker. How would you like to buy a property and not have to go to the bank to get a loan? How would you like to cut a deal where you do not have to have a down payment? Those are two wins, I think, for you. As a newbie, you'd like to get the cash flow. You understand, if you had 50 units and you increase them $50 a month, you have $30,000 more income coming in. Would that be nice? Sure would. It is a win-win deal, and I like that. You benefit because you get the income, you get the upside, you get the capital appreciation, you get the opportunity to increase the value. And you get all that because you've got a fixed set price in advance. So at the end of the master lease, or any time before the end of the master lease, if you want to exercise your option, because sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 year option or 5 or sooner. If you want to pull the trigger in 3 years, you could. You would cancel the master lease simultaneously with buying the property. You give a written notification to the seller. I, as a lessee buyer, would like to execute on my option prior to the end of the master lease, which will then, therefore, at the close of the escrow, when you get from equitable title to full legal title, which they will get, you get the deed, then the master lease will be terminated and you won't be making those payments anymore. Now, you may be going forward making payments to them as a mortgage. The majority of mobile home parks are owned free and clear in America. But the issue is they're only going to get a dismal return. So let's say the hypothetical price of the option price is $500,000, just for good discussion. They put $500,000 in the bank. They're going to get a 0.5% return in the current environment. Okay? That's a lousy, dismal, and insulting and embarrassing $500 per $100,000. They get $2,500. If you were to give them a mortgage at the option price, which is less than the value of the property, there's a cushion for them for collateral. And then you could have a fixed rate 4% loan with no banks, no qualification, and no down payment. Is that a win for you? Absolutely. Is it a win for them? Absolutely. I go into that discussion in private money in more detail, but the idea is the banks are paying dismal return. They could get a nice 4% return. I wouldn't say this to them, but they would get literally 8 times as much as they would get from the bank. We wouldn't say that because it sounds too flabbergastingly good. It's the truth. Let's just tell them they would get the mortgage payment you're going to pay, whatever that mortgage payment would be, at 4%. Okay? Is that cool? I think that is really a great deal for them. They win, and they're going to get the money. It is a wonderful way for you to get into a property with literally nothing down. I think it is a great, great deal for you. And as frosting on the cake, I'm going to record a separate video of how I use rocketlawyer.com to create an agreement. Because people say, I need to know how to do the agreement. Well, I'm going to tell you point blank, the smart way to do this would be to do it with a letter of intent. You could have Rocket Lawyer on retainer for less than $40 a month. I'm not asking you to do that right now. No. If you have a master lease in mind, I would offer it as a letter of intent. It's a letter. I want to lease it, master lease it, I want to do this, I want to do that, and so forth. You spell it out. And then if they agree to it, then you go to doing a contract. Does that make sense? And I'm going to help you be able to create a contract. This is what it's all about, helping you become an informed, intelligent, commercial real estate investor. Take care.